Good evening, friends. Dr. GagandeepKaurGulati this side from Living Dreams. I know that it's been quite a long that we have spoken, that we have talked, and that we have met. So today I am back with you after a gap of around a week, and we would be talking to you. We would be discussing with you about so many things today. So, friends, nowadays, as we all are aware, that it is the time of women empowerment. At the same time, there are so many girls in our country who are not even getting education properly. Leave aside the themes about women empowerment or being independent, the basic rights of a girl coming into the world, then having the basic necessities of life as food, clothing, shelter, then education. There are so many things which need to be discussed. There are so many privileges. We would say these are basically the necessities that we need to provide to the girls, the education part especially. At the same time, in our country, there are so many people who aspire to be, yes, to be an IAS officer, which is the dream of every other Indian. So therefore, we thought that today we would be inviting someone who is highly educated, who is a female, and who is an IS officer, a very versatile personality. So what all topics I just discussed with you now, she has all these things in her. So therefore, I thought, why not to invite such a versatile, dynamic, and a person who's full of. She's so pleasant to talk to, so very intellectual. So therefore, today, friends, we are inviting in our studio in Weaving Dreams, Madam Ira Singhal ji. So before I tell you more about her, I would like to invite her here. I would like to welcome her here on our studio. Good evening, namaskar, ma'am. Good evening. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for accepting our invite, and you are so nice. You are so humble that whenever I request you to be on our show or in our conferences, you always accept my invite and you come. Thanks to you.
Anytime.
Friends, I would like to tell a brief about Madam. Ma'am Ira Singhal, she is the first person with disability to the prestigious Civil Services Examination 2014. And she is, if we talk about her education, she is an engineer BE and MBA degrees she holds from the two of the top institutions of the country. And before her selection as an IAS officer, I would like to inform you all that she got selected in 2015, and before that, she was rejected thrice by the government as an IRS officer. In the same exam, despite clearing it due to her disability, and then she decided to fight the rejection in the Central Administrative Tribunal, and she won after a battle of 3 years. And presently, she is handling 7 profiles in the North Delhi Municipal Corporation. She is the DC Keshavpuram zone. She is the DC Karol Bagh zone. Then that is actually a hub of so many, we can say that's a shopping center of Delhi. Then she's Director Education, Director Community Services, Director Press and Information, DC Advertising, DC RP Cell and Parking, and so many other things. So we would be talking to you about all this. We would be talking to the audience about all these things. And first of all, ma'am, we welcome you here and we would like to hear something from you.
Thank you so much for having me. And actually, as of yesterday evening, it's 5 charges, thankfully. I managed to get rid of 2 of them. So I'm not in DC Keshavapuram and Director Community Services anymore, but the rest of the 5 stay. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey into the services, and it's been quite an education. What you see from outside and what you go through every day here is very different. And I'm very glad I got this opportunity. Very, very few people are so lucky, I would say, to be able to do what we get to do every day, to make a difference to so many lives, to help out so many people. So I count myself extremely lucky that I got this opportunity, and I hope I'm doing justice to it. I hope I'm doing my best, and I hope that's enough for people for really what is required. And my job is one of those jobs where gender of the person doing the job really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. The requirements and the kind of achievements you're supposed to have are precisely the same for everybody. So that's the good part about my job, and about what we do day in and out. And I swear I think women would be a lot better suited to this, because my job is a lot about empathy and about understanding and about giving people opportunities, and so I think women are a little more tuned to those things in general as well.
There's a little problem in the audio, I believe. I think there is some internet
You
or
can't hear
connection
me?
problem. There's a problem in audio. It's not very clear because I don't want the audience to miss even a single sentence or a single word that you speak.
Actually, is it better now?
It's better. It's better.
Yeah, so the problem is that I have to hold the phone, otherwise, let me try. No. See, the thing is, the screen goes, it's not staying that way. That was my problem. Let me try. No, right? It doesn't work even now?
It's fine now. It's fine.
Yes, fine. Okay, great. So we'll keep it like this. Yeah.
So now, before we proceed further, because you already were an engineer before you joined, you are an engineer, yeah. So you had already done engineering and you had done MBAs before you joined the civil services. You were already enjoying a great life in the corporate as well. So how come this happened? I know that this is a dream of every person to join IAS services. So what exactly came into your mind to join this?
Uh, so actually, I was working in the corporate. I was in a company called Cadbury, which is now called Mondelez, and you can imagine the company was actually as sweet as the product. So it was a very nice company. I mean, I think it's like one of those places that everybody would want to work in. But I was working 20-hour days, and I had a lot of profiles. I was handling a lot of things, and I was working that hard. And I started thinking that at the end of my day, there is nobody who will say that because I worked so hard, their life became better. You know. So the impact that I was leaving behind was not what I wanted it to be. So I hadn't made anybody's life better. I hadn't made a difference to anybody. So even after working so hard, there really wasn't going to be anybody who said that because you were there, my life got better. So I needed my day to have made a difference. I needed my working that hard to have made an impact on someone, and that's when I decided to quit and join civil services. And because the idea is, I need to have done something where someone is grateful of the work that I've done. Someone's life got better. Someone got positively impacted, and that's how I got in. I had thought about getting into civil services or becoming a doctor as a kid. So as a child, I wanted to be a doctor or an IS officer or IFS officer. Doctor didn't happen because my dad said that, "Beta, you look like a patient. Nobody's coming to get treatment from you." So that didn't happen. So then, how you in a city like Delhi, you kind of go into the same route as everybody else. So engineering, MBA, and then job, and that's when the switch finally happened.
So, and then you have mentioned in your profile that you had to face rejection for the IAS examination. So, why did that happen? How did that happen? Why
Um,
exactly?
so basically, in civil services, for any government job, there are basically two criteria on which they check a person with disability. One is, what are your abilities, which is what can you do, the physical things that you can do, which is something like reading, writing, standing up, walking, sitting, all of those kind of things. And the second thing that they do is, what is your disability? So is there something wrong with your leg, two legs, one arm, two arms, things like that. So in my case, I fulfill the criteria for ability for almost all the services, but for disability criteria, I don't fulfill that for any service except for the IAS. And in the previous three attempts, my rank was not good enough to get into the IAS, but I could have gotten the other services. but simply because my medical condition was not something that they were okay with. Even though I could do the job, even though they say I fulfill the ability criteria, because I don't fulfill the criteria of disability that they have selected, and no doctor has certified this. There is no medical practitioner who has said that these are the kind of disabilities that will be able to do this job. It's just random people sat one day and just decided to take whatever they liked. And basis that I was not given a job simply because someone didn't like my disabilities.
So that is actually the problem, because you, when a person is so intellectual as you are, when we need a person like you in our country, but finally that happened, and now you are an IAS officer, and everyone,
Yes.
because I being in Delhi, I really know that every single person is a big fan of yours. We all are, all the
Thank you.
students, we all look upon you. We've
Thank
got
you.
so many things, so many documentaries and all, so many interviews that have been conducted with you, and we watch them on YouTube. Every other person is a big fan of yours. Now,
Thank
you
you.
stayed in Alipur also as SDM. So, if we
Yes.
talk to you now, coming to the topic of education, especially for the girls, you yourself are so very highly qualified. So, according to you, in Delhi, fine, many people do get the opportunity of studying. They have the resources for studying, but most of the people, I believe, especially the girls, they do not have the resources, or the parents do not promote education, especially in not very urban areas. So, what do you have to say about that?
I think the problem is as a society, we have still not accepted that women are equally capable. See, over centuries, the technology was such that women's capabilities could not be utilized simply because the world was more about physical strength rather than mental abilities. But over the last 100, 200 years, it's the mental abilities which matter more. And that's where women actually shine. In the open setup where the technology is better, where technology is more, you can
Again, there's
obviously
a
see
problem.
women.
There's an audio problem that we are having. There is an audio problem.
You have to hold the phone then. So basically, in an urban setup, it's a lot easier to see women's abilities simply because the technology is of that level. While in a rural setup, in an small town setup, the technology hasn't reached the level that people's thinking has caught up. So they still see work and everything from the small town technology level. And that's where they still don't recognize that women have that ability and women are that capable. And that's where the problem still lies. There are obviously parents that are progressive because most of our big towns and urban centers actually are filled of people who have migrated to those places. So most people have actually moved from smaller towns to big towns. And in big towns, when they come, they give their children that opportunity because they see that technology level. They see that, there are facilities available for women to go to work and to come back safely and, be that productive. And hence, in urban towns, they're a lot more open to those ideas. While in a rural setup, it's tougher for the availability of infrastructure, etc., is not such that it's a lot easy for men also. For women, it becomes even tougher. So that's where the thinking also is a little restricted. But those same people, when they migrate to a big city, they let their daughters study and they see that other people are managed. So why not our children? So that's a good plus point that happens. But yes, in the small town, the mentality is still such that they don't really have that exposure to ways that their girls can be as productive as their boys.
Correct. So very correct, because in coming, when the people migrate from the rural areas to the urban areas, probably they see, and moreover the facilities are also, the facilities being provided by the government are so many that they can, they can actually grab those opportunities, and seeing the neighborhood girl child going to the school, and then they send their children as well. So we really expect that in our country every other girl should also be educated, so that it's not about their rights, as I just mentioned. It's at least it's not about equality. It's not about right. At least they get the education part. At least they get the necessities which are required, the proper care. It can be the medical facilities and so many other things. Rather, we are striving for that. Leave apart the equality portion. And then you've also been working on women empowerment, one thing, then also on child labor and so many other things, child education. So, what have you seen in our country while you were working on these issues?
In what respect do you mean?
What exactly? Like, for example, we have seen in your profile that you have been working as a for women empowerment and then prevention of child labor and child marriages. So, why exactly is that still happening? And because we also got to know that you rescued so many, more than 300 children and bonded laborers and restored them to their families. I think that was when you were SDM in North Delhi district, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So how did that happen, and how did you? If we would just like to know more about that.
So one of the big reasons that there is child labor is um, there's somewhere in our education system that we are not able to generate enough interest in the children, and we're not able to give them hope of a future which is driven by education. So there are families, especially when it is boys who are in child labor. It's simply because families don't see a future and hope. The children don't see a future and hope by going to school. And since the aim at the end of the day is to, earn money to survive, they think let's start as early as possible, because every person who's not working is an extra mouth to feed. But if every person who's working is an extra hand that earns. So,
Yes.
and in a way, education in our country, and I think everywhere in the world, is about making you productive and making you economically independent. See, very few people are in education for the research part of it, but most people are in it for, and that's a fact. We don't need everybody researching. We need people to be productive. We need people to be earning through education. So, because we've not focused so well on the primary level education, which is why somewhere that gap has existed. And for when it comes to women being married off as children, it's a massive problem of how we see women as the weaker sex. See, most parents, what they feel is that the minute the girl is old enough, she is a target for others to exploit. And because in a city like Delhi, both the parents invariably have to work because it's an expensive city. So mothers also have to work, which means that the girl child will be left behind at home. And then, there's a possibility that she will be raped or she'll be kidnapped. And which is why they think that let's marry her off, because if she's married, she's someone else's problem. And, a girl who's raped will not get married, and hence she'll be a burden. And again, it comes back to the fact that they don't see a hope for the girl through the route of education. They don't think that educating her and getting her be employable, and getting her to have her own earning and being productive is going to solve anything for her. I'll give you an example that was very saddening for us and quite an eye opener. We rescued this girl who was around 12 from child marriage. We got an information. We went there. We rescued her. Will you believe it? That girl actually scolded us for 3 full days for rescuing her. She scolded us, like this child was scolding all us adults because we had stopped her marriage. We had shamed her family, and we had spoiled her name, reputation, because her marriage was stopped. And this is a 9-year-old who was being married to a man in his late 20s, early 30s. And
There's again some problem. There is some problem. I think we need to because I really, as I said, I don't want that we should miss a single word that you are speaking.
I am. I don't know. I am.
It's
Am I
fine.
not
It's
audible
fine.
right now? It's fine.
It's
Okay.
fine. It's
So
fine.
I'm gonna try being a little still. I think maybe that disturbs things. So this girl scolded us that we had destroyed her marriage. And according to her, it was her duty to her family to be married off. And this is her background. Her mother had been married at a similar age. Her mother had then had 4 children. I think 4 or 5. I'm not. I don't remember that clearly. And this girl was the oldest one, and her father had died some time ago, a few months ago or something. And now her mother was, feeding all of these children by working as a low skill laborer. And so this was this girl's duty to now get married and go away, so that there were less people for her mother to feed. And we tried explaining to this child that what if the same thing happens to you, because you are setting up the same cycle. But we could not get through to her because she had been conditioned and almost brainwashed into believing that this is how women are supposed to be and this is what her duty is. And she was very keen on doing her duty. She didn't see it as a sacrifice, she didn't see it as a problem. To her, it was her duty. So ever since her dad had died, people had been drilling it into her head that as a girl, this is your duty. You must do this for your mother, for your siblings, and for your family's reputation. And we had stopped her marriage. So now there would be nobody who would marry her. And, we basically destroyed her life according to her. So, that's the unfortunate reality of today, that most people do not see value in education. And that's where I think the recent new education policy and the recent move towards doing skill training at such massive levels will help. Because, parents will directly see that my child has suddenly become employable and in a better job, in a more organized way, uh, just by going to school. And schooling is mostly free in government schools, at least. So, that will make a huge difference, hopefully. But child labor and child marriages stem from this. And there's one more reason for child labor, in fact. What happens is when these families move to a city like Delhi, to the urban center, in the village, you have your nani, chachi, dadi, mosi, someone at home to take care of the children. But when you move to a city, you leave all those people behind. And with the expenses of the city, the mother also has to work. So both the parents have to work. So now the mother has two options. Either she leaves the child behind, in which case she's scared that the child will be kidnapped, there'll be child abuse, all sorts of things will happen on her child. And if she takes the child to work, the child doesn't go to school. So by the time the child is 7 or 8 years old, she starts telling the child that, okay, go pick up that and give it to me. Go do this, go fetch that. And slowly, the child is coming to work. They think, why not employ the child? He's just sitting around. So they put the child in work as well. And it's better that, the child earns 5 rupees, whatever it is. So they put that child in that. And that's how child labor begins again. Because you've brought the child to work. Why not use him or her? And that's how child labor happens. So,
And probably,
yeah.
as you had mentioned also, that you have set up a unique project wherein I think there's a 12-hour crèche cum
Yes,
daycare
yes,
center facility
yeah.
which has been provided
So,
inside the government schools. Because I
yeah.
think
So,
around 700 plus schools come under your MCD
yeah.
schools come under your jurisdiction, right?
Yeah, so this is as of now a CSR based project that I started from all of these problems that I'd seen as an SDM. I'm currently with the North Delhi Municipal Corporation. So what we did was we set up 12-hour creches and daycare centers. See, in a city like Delhi, you work for 8 hours and you travel both sides 2 hours at least, especially for these
Exactly.
poor women who live in the slums, right? So basically, you're away from home for at least 12 hours. So what we've done is we've set up daycare and creches inside the school itself. So what that does is, you can leave children from 6 months to 12 years at the same place and go to work, come back in the evening, pick them up and take them home. I'm giving that child education, I'm giving that child food, I'm giving that child medical care. And so basically, I'm taking care of your child throughout. That saves your child from child abuse, from sexual abuse to physical abuse. We take care of the nutrition, we take care of the health parameters, we take care of the education, we take care of, then problems of substance abuse amongst children. I've seen children as young as 6 months old taking drugs. So we can solve all of that. School dropout is solved because shifting the child from a creche ka room to a classroom is very, very easy. When the child is coming there from 6 months of age, child marriage is stopped, child labor is stopped. You name it, and we can solve all those problems for children, and create new employment opportunities for women as creche workers. Secondly, enable all of these women to go to work. So, recently before the COVID, there was a huge discussion on women dropping out of workforce. And one of the biggest reason is that there is not enough infrastructure available to help the women when they go to work, because the primary responsibility, unfortunately, still in a country like ours, is of women to take care of the children. The men, most of these women, especially the ones that I'm catering to, their husbands are alcoholics and drug abusers, and they beat up these women at night. They snatch their money, they beat up, and they waste their own earnings on drugs and alcohol. So it's primarily the woman's responsibility to earn and take care of the children, and hence she has this extra burden. In fact, when we started the creches, we actually had cases where women have told us stories where they were giving a theme to their children and locking them inside the kholi, and then going to work because she was scared that someone will steal her child or abuse her child when she's at work. And so, she's locking the child and she's going to work because that's the only way she can, make sure that the child is safe. And she comes back at night, feeds the child, and then puts him back to sleep again. And besides the theme, there have been cases where women have tied the child to the bed by chain and left bread and maybe roti and milk behind so that the child can feed itself. I've seen children eating from dumpsters, and there's massive abuse of children because see, even if you go to school, if a child goes to school, the school ends at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Mother comes back at 8 in the night. What is the child doing till then? There is nobody looking after the child for that many hours. So my school, MCD schools have this plus point that they are right in the center of the slum areas. Like they're there in every locality. Right? So it's not far from anyone. So there's always someone looking at the school. The school already has infrastructure in terms of child-friendly infrastructure. So there's a building, there's playground, there's water, there's electricity, there's a room, and the children already come there from a particular age. So we've just accelerated that, and we've just used that same infrastructure without too much of an extra cost, and ensure that we can give these children a future. So yeah.
Great. We are getting comments for you. Dr. Devinder Kaur, she is a musicologist in Patiala. She herself is a very intellectual lady. And she's also mentioning what a determination. Because, ma'am, we have many people who've joined from Punjab also. And then we have Mukesh Bhatnagarji. I think he's a retired personality from a bank, and has been writing articles on you as well. We've got Reema Kohli, a very inspiring personality. Then Dr. Maninder Kaur is here with us. She is the director of college GNIM in Delhi. Accepting women as boss is one aspect, but how do Ira Singhal ma'am coping up with her competences? We'll just come to this question later to you. Then we have a scientist, Dr. Jaswinder Singh from Patiala. He is also saying excellent service. So, ma'am, one thing even I would like to say that you have seen the problems. Probably we all have been seeing the problems that the labor class is facing. But it is a great initiative of yours that even if it's through CSR, but at least you thought of this of providing a 12-hour crèche. It's a big thing because you've been thinking that fine because the children get free by 12 o'clock and the mother comes back at 8 o'clock. The child, even if it is at home, it's alone, but it's not safe, especially as you're mentioning in the slum areas. And that's a great initiative that you've taken.
I honestly think the office creches really don't make sense because, at 3 years of age, the child goes to school. So are we saying that at age of 3, that child suddenly becomes an adult, that he can take care of himself alone after school? And in a city like Delhi, the school is within 8 kilometers of home, but the office is 40 kilometers away. So how is your child managing when you're going to work? So, I honestly think we need to have these at more and more schools. And if I could, I would ensure that they're there in all schools. But let's see. So as of now, we've got 10. I have a plan of expanding this as much as possible. I'm looking at what we can do in that respect. So let's see. Hopefully, this will be taken.
That would be great. And I think this has also been appreciated by the PM office, this initiative of yours that you have taken.
Yeah. So I'm working with Ministry of WCD to involve this across the country, to start this across the country. Yes.
Ministry of Women and Child Development,
Yes.
right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
WCD, we call it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then again, one more thing that we would talk to you that you, during especially these pandemic days, I think you're the first person in the country to get the sanitization done through drones, beside
Yeah.
also raging massive relief efforts through NGOs and many other support from many other CSR activities. So, sanitization through drones. How did, because you are yourself an engineer as well. So, probably you had that mind.
I think so. Yes. See, the problem is most of our sanitization was being done on big roads and in urban, in authorized colonies is what we call them in Delhi, in the settled and the richer colonies. But the problem is the vehicle doesn't go inside in the slum areas and the smaller unauthorized areas, and that's where we were having a problem. So, but with a drone, we don't need a big vehicle. We can just send the drone straight. It's a lot faster. It's not cheaper, obviously. It's not cheap, but it's a lot faster and it's doable. With a vehicle, it was not doable. So the idea was that instead of manually doing it, where it takes the whole day to just do one road, if we do it by a drone, it's much faster and we can serve a lot many people. We again got CSR money for this, and we had donations which helped us do this. But yeah, so I was the first one who got this started.
In the whole country, right?
Yeah.
Fine. So, and yeah, and apart from that, one more thing that you have done, you've increased the commercial revenues of your departments more than 30% annually. That was merely 4 to 5%. And how come 30% annually? How did
Uh,
that happen? Increasing the
so it's
commercial
about
revenues.
no, so it's about setting the right strategies and basically cleaning up a lot of things that were
Because
left undone.
it's quite possible that many IAS aspirants may also be watching you. So they would also try to know that once, if they are selected, what all strategies they should adopt for, benefiting the complete jurisdiction area that comes under them.
I think with the advertising, it's about what we did was we found new ways, new means of earning, and it was controlling the spillage, the illegal, siphoning of things, and also clarifying our. See, a lot of the times, our tender documents and our legal paperwork is so confusing that most things end up in court. Most people are constantly fighting in court to get clarity on what we are trying to tell them. So it was about clarifying things and making simpler documents, simpler policies, and easily implementable things, and finding new sources of revenue. So that was basically what I did. Yeah.
Correct.
So we've
Okay, now, yeah, a few more points that we would like to discuss. So once you joined IAS, so you've already discussed how you always wanted to, even after you left your corporate life also to join because a bureaucrat has more of authority for doing good to the society. A
yeah.
corporate person may not be having. So you would like to suggest something to the aspirants? Because I know it's not so easy to crack IAS, and apart from that, I think you also got the President's Gold Medal for topping the IAS training. I mean, First Ladies of India, that was award by the Ministry of WCD again. And you've also been covered by Limca Book of Records. So what do you think? What exactly, if in case a student has to go in for IAS, they have to shed everything, all their social
Not
networks
at
or whatever?
all. No, not at all. Most people don't realize, but my job is about knowing the world around you well. It's about understanding people around you. It's about understanding the world around you. See, for example, I couldn't set up these creches if I did not know that these problems exist, right? So it's about the world around you. So if you cut yourself off from your social sector, social life, how will you know the problems around you? Then how do you solve them? So this job, people confuse it and think it's about studying. It might be about studying, but it's about studying the world around you. It's not about studying the technical stuff inside your books. It's about knowing the world around you. It's about knowing what is happening. How do you solve it? It's about, and by the way, you will never get new ideas and new ways to think if you don't discuss with other people. So, and if you don't have friends and if you don't have a social circle, who will you discuss with? So, in my case, particularly, I get most of my ideas by talking to someone. So I think it's very important that you have a social life, you have a social sector, and you discuss with people, and go out in the world, because this job is that. And that's I don't agree with cutting yourself off from everything and everyone.
You need to be accessible. I'm trying to ask that before you join the IAS. So while a person is preparing for that, even
That's
that
the
time
time I'm
also we
talking
need
about.
to be connected to everyone.
Yes, 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 that is what I'm talking about. The question paper is not about technical things. They ask you about the world around you. They ask you to think
Okay.
and analyze and answer things around you. They'll give you a problem of child labor, in the question paper. If you haven't spoken to people around you, if you don't have a perspective that you've developed by looking at the world around you, you won't know about it. And see, they're asking you to give you your opinion. They're not asking you to give some other author's opinion or some writer's opinion or some
Very
newspaper
correct.
journalist's opinion, right? So they're
So
asking
very
your
correct.
opinion. Yeah.
I
So,
think this is a
which
big
is
advice.
yeah. So this is why you need to develop a perspective, and perspective doesn't come in a locked room. You can lock yourself away from the world, but how will you know about the world then? How will you have a perspective about the world? So no, I don't agree that you need to study and by locking yourself away. Be out there. See, the problem is knowing having the balance. Knowing what is the limit to everything. So as
Correct.
long as you're someone who can set a limit, it's doable. It's important, in fact. But of course, if you're spending 30 hours out of 24 hours on social media, then that's a problem.
This is what most of the youngsters nowadays do.
Yeah.
If you tell them that you have to study for more than the hours that we have in a day, they won't be able to do that. But beyond that, they would definitely. Yeah, we are getting comments from Kamaldeep ji. She is in USA. She is gone from India only, from Punjab. Very ambitious, Ira ji, because she herself has been into teaching. Then we have Neeta ji, Neeta Arora ji. She's asking, when do you think of joining civil services? She is principal in Venkateshwar School, Delhi only. It's a very prestigious school of
Okay.
Delhi. When did you think of joining civil? So probably she joined
Uh,
late, and by that time.
yeah. So initially, I thought about joining civil services as a child. So when something like third or fourth, and I'll tell you how that happened. I spent my childhood in Meerut in UP, and as a kid, there were 2 years in my life that I went to school only for 6 months because there was a curfew in our city through communal riots or some other riots or something. So at the same time, in my civics book, I was actually studying about what a district magistrate is, what civil services are, and I was seeing my own city's DMs doing the work, and managing those situations and solving the crisis. And every day there would be that the DM has ordered that the curfew will be open for from this time to this time, and you keep reading about them in the news, and you kept so it was a connect between the text and the practical. And that's when I thought that this job sounds interesting. This looks like something I would want to do because I love solving problems and I love providing solutions. And I thought this is exactly what I want to do with my life. But then I moved to Delhi, and in a city like Delhi, people don't think about these things, and government jobs don't really matter as much. And so in Delhi, that didn't happen. I went into the engineering MBA and then corporate route. And in the corporate, like I said before, that's when I thought that okay, I need to make a contribution. My life and my work needs to have a bigger impact, and that's when I switched. So I switched very late. I switched at the age of 27. So I didn't do it young.
But
So
you
yeah.
are really doing wonders, because I being in Delhi and being connected to so many people, what all they tell and what all you have been sharing, that there are so many unique things that you're doing for the society, like the setting up of crutches, and then through sanitization, through drones. Probably no one would have even thought of these things when you got these things implemented or operational in our own city. And probably one more thing, because like we had a question here from Dr. Maninder. She is a principal, she's director in the college, GNIM in Delhi. So she's asking that you being a person, you being a female, so it must be very difficult, because if I can say, yeah, accepting women as boss is one aspect, but how do you cope up with your competences? How do you make it so possible so easily?
I think we are very lucky in our setup. There have been many women before me. So, people have understood the importance. People have started seeing women as equals in my job profile. So, it's not because of me, it's all the women before me who had done this. So, that happened. And so, we just have to carry that forward. But yeah, there are still hiccups, and there are still people who tell you, oh, you're a girl. So, they give you profiles which they think are softer, or they give you profiles which they think you can, I mean, because you're a girl, you'll do better. But generally speaking, that glass ceiling isn't there as strongly as it is everywhere else. So for us, it's a little easier because in our roles we have direct powers, right? So it's people don't have options but to listen to you.
That's you're correct. They don't have option but to listen to you. But at the same time, the way they listen to you, that definitely matters, and the way they try to implement the things what you tell them to do, that
See,
also matters.
yeah. So I think it's also to do with the fact, and this is something that somebody else recently pointed out. People don't expect that the women will punish them the way men will. So they don't take women as seriously because they don't think you will take an action against them. And that's something that kind of puts women in a back seat. But if you
Yeah.
if as a woman you take action and you are strong and you're decisive, then you are called as a strange person or as a very sulky woman, or while if the man was doing the same things, he wouldn't be called names. Nobody will say anything. They'll just say he's okay. Yeah, he's a good officer or he's a strong officer. But if you're a female and you do those things and you take those stands and you say no to things, then you're called stubborn and sunky and strict and all sorts of names. But most of us women have to survive that because otherwise people don't take you seriously enough. So
And Ira ma'am is strict,
I'm
strict.
extremely strict. I'm extremely strict. And I'm even stricter for myself than I am for anybody else. So I think in my job profile, I have to be. Otherwise, like I said, that people will not take you seriously enough.
Correct. So, because the other day I was talking to, there is another very senior bureaucrat. You must have heard, you must be knowing her, Neelam Saxena Chandraji. She is a poetess also. She's an IES officer, and presently she's working with railways. So, she's a great poetess. So, I was just talking to her one day that, ma'am, you write poems also, and then the poets are supposed to be very sensitive. And are you really sick? She said, yes, I am a very sick bureaucrat. You can't afford to be very lenient. This is what exactly
Yes,
her
yes,
answer
yes.
was.
Yes, yes. As women officers, we can't afford to be lenient because the minute we are lenient, we are seen as somebody who can be pushed around. And there are enough bullies inside the system as well. There are enough people who will bully you, enough officers who will try to bully you. And if you are somebody who looks and acts like you can be bullied, you'll get pushed around. So it's not from the public, but it's from within your service, within people around you. So as female officers, you end up, if you want to be taken seriously, you need to be strict. And especially for someone my size, I'm like a tiny little person. So for people to take me seriously, I have to be extra strict because otherwise they won't listen to me. It's a problem. And especially for short girls, it's even worse.
We have another question from Neeta Roraji. As I mentioned, she's a principal. Probably she must be having guiding so many students also, because nowadays so many students are the aspirants of IAS. Obviously, that's a dream thing that every person has. What were your subjects for preliminary and main exams, just in case you would like to share here
Uh,
this time?
so as of now, the exam pattern has changed. I believe you're talking about a pattern which was there 15 years ago. There is no more subject in the preliminary. It's a
Correct.
compulsory paper, and it's in the mains that you have a subject. And my subject was geography.
Correct. Okay, one more thing that you shared with me earlier, that you've been working on sign language, which has been made
Yes.
compulsory. So, what
Yeah.
exactly is sign language, which you
So,
have made compulsory for the teachers and children in all the MCD schools that are under your jurisdiction? What is sign
uh,
language?
sign language is basically the language that is taught to people with hearing disabilities. And the
Mhm.
issue is that what we are doing in our country today is that we're teaching sign language only to the people with hearing disability. Now, if I am what is the purpose of language? The language is taught to you so that you can communicate with other people around you. If you're a person who has hearing disability, you are taught sign language because you cannot use words to communicate with the people around you. But if you are the
Correct.
only person who knows that language and all the people around you don't know that language, then what is the purpose of that language? We've destroyed the purpose. The whole point was that with that language, you can now communicate with the world. The world doesn't know it. You are the only person who knows it. So most people with hearing disabilities who know sign language can't even speak to their own parents with that language, to their siblings, to nobody. So the idea is that let's have people understand that as a language. And by the way, it can be very beneficial to everybody, because what if you're bedridden, right? And you can't speak. There's a tube going down your throat. So then you can sign and tell someone what you know, need and want. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring in sign language as a language that people with hearing disabilities can actually use to communicate, because right now, the only other people that they can communicate with is other people with hearing disabilities, and which is very unfair, and which serves the purpose, which destroys the purpose of having that as a language. It was meant for them to work with everybody else, but that's precisely what they're not doing.
Correct. Another thing that I would like to talk to about is because you are the brand ambassador for Department of Disability, Ministry of Social Justice, Government of India. So what exactly, apart from the sign language, so what more are you doing for the people who are having disabilities?
Oh God, that's such a long conversation. I've taken up a lot
I
of
know you are
initiatives.
busy, but now I know you are quite busy, and we
Yeah,
so
no, I'm saying I've actually done quite a few initiatives. Starting from skill training, I've worked on their skill training. Then in education, currently I'm working on sensitizing all my teachers on different kinds of disabilities, and ensuring that people with disability, children with disabilities are brought into the same classroom as every other child. See, um, my child is the poorest section of children from the country, at least from Delhi, for sure. Now, if even in my classroom the child is not welcome, then where can that child go? So, what I've done is I've trained all my teachers. I have 7,500 teachers. I've trained all on them on different aspects of disabilities, on children with disabilities, on what special interventions they will need, what they don't need, on basically ensuring that all children with disabilities are taught in the same classroom, unless it is necessary for the child to not be in that same classroom. So if it is about the child's disability that he needs special interventions and a special classroom, only then do we send him out. Otherwise, we ensure that he goes to the same school. Besides that, when I was in SDM, I did a survey of all people with disability. I basically trained all the ASHA and A&M workers on all these disabilities, and we told them to go identify people in the areas, in the rural areas, who had disabilities, to bring them to us. And we did a need gap survey, and we then got them the services that they needed. So basically, we got them, any kind of devices. We got them any kind of medical interventions. We got them, cards, disability card made, all those, government schemes. We got them registered in government schemes. So basically, whatever they needed, we kind of helped, did a holistic this thing. So we did a survey of, finally had a list of around 1,500 people with disabilities in our area, who we identified and who needed our help. Besides that, like I said, I've been working on giving skill training. So all of those people, we set up a skill camp for them, and we got them enrolled in skill courses after that. And on loads of other things, have been
correct.
involved.
So finally, know that we'll just try to come to the end of the thing. I really know that you are quite busy, and it's been you've really been very kind to give us time. So now that we talked about the problems that people are facing for the girl education, but now you have tried to make it so easy by providing all the facilities to the girl child, leaving no scope for the parents to not to send their children to the schools. They are providing them with food, they are providing them with education, with safety, security. These are the basic things that every parent wants if the child has to be sent. And as they say, if the girl has studied, then the complete family has studied. Right?
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so apart from that, these three, four things that we have mentioned. So finally, when we come to the conclusion, what more suggestive solutions you would like to give to so many other people, now to the young aspirants who wish to be civil servants, who wish to be bureaucrats? It's not an easy journey. I can really understand. It's sheer hard work, and even once you become a bureaucrat, it seems to be very nice term, bureaucrat, IS officer, but I think you need to work 24 hours a day on that.
Yes, we end up working a lot. Like I said, I was handling 7 profiles, and there are only 5 working days technically. So it's if you have a passion for it, if you're really here for the right reasons, you will really enjoy your work. But if you're here for a personal gain, or if you're hoping to get your ego satisfied or to have prestige for yourself, then I don't think this is the right place to be. Because more than benefiting, you're going to harm people, and you're going to be you're going to spread negativity, because that's the space that you're coming from. So it's a career which has immense emotional satisfaction, but it also has those pitfalls, and it's an everyday battle. It's an everyday battle with all sorts of things, and you have to you know wade yourself through everything. But at the end of the day, it's very rewarding. I doubt there are any careers as rewarding as what we do every day. And to all the girls out there who want to be civil service servants, my advice is, don't let the world tell you what you should be and what you shouldn't be. Define your goals, define your aims, define your personality. Nobody gets to decide who you are. Nobody gets to tell you who you are. You're the only person who knows you. You're the only person who has lived your life, who has your talent, who has your abilities, who thinks like you. So others can't decide what your career should be. If you want to be in civil services, do it for the right reasons. Do it that you want to make a difference to others. Do you so that you want other women to have those opportunities. And I hope you all get to have your dreams, and you all get to be what you want in life.
So nice of you to say such words of wisdom to all the aspirants out there who are listening to you and who would be listening to you, because later on we are just going to keep this interview on the YouTube so that any time any person who wishes to listen. So what you are saying is, yes, totally correct, that once a person thinks of joining this as a career, not to satisfy the ego, but to serve the society, which is most important. And many a times it may be rewarding, it may not be rewarding. Like one of the examples that you gave, you rescued the girl
Yeah,
child, but at the same time that small little child was also not accepting to be
yeah,
rescued. So it's
yeah,
just one instance that you may have shared with us, but there may have been so many instances. So
yeah.
you may be finding so many people who, if I use the word thankless to you for doing so much of good, but definitely you feel satisfied that yes, you have done such a good work for the society.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm really sure that every other day when you go to your work, to your office, to your workplace, or all these slum areas or the schools, you must be having so much of contentment, so much of satisfaction of doing all the, because as we are getting comments, all the blessings from handicapped people, because Asha Sharma ji, she's in Patiala and she's also working for the senior citizens. She's working for the underprivileged also. So I can really expect that she may be able to correlate with what exactly you are doing and the kind of work you are doing. Thank you so much for being so
Thank you for
nice.
having me.
Accepting our invite to be here. I'm really sure that you would again, whenever we request, you would give us time to be here on this platform. Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having me. And thank you so much to everybody for the nice comments. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Friends, this was Ira Singhal, ma'am. She is the DC, the North MTD, as I just mentioned, and I'm really sure that we gained a lot from what she shared from her diary. She has been working, she's an engineer, she's an MBA from the prestigious institutions of our country, but at the same time, she was working in a corporate and enjoying a very good life. But at the same time, she thought of serving the society and therefore she tried to join the IAS and she was successful in that. I'm really sure all the aspirants out there who wish to join this as a career, she made it very clear that if you have to join for your ego, never going for this career. But if you wish to do it for a purpose, the purpose has to be to serve the society, which exactly Ira ma'am is also doing. And therefore, because you must have seen, as I was just talking to her, you must have seen all the achievements that she has to her credit because of the work that she is doing. And this is more important that we have to understand. She must have attended so many conferences. She's a speaker out there at IITs and IIMs, and she's also working for the girls, for the girl child, for the slum areas. And one example that she gave, that the a unique kind of a concept wherein she has started a 12-hour, 12 ghante ka ek crèche cum day facility, which she is providing to the children of the school, of the area that are coming under her jurisdiction. So these are all the things that a person has to do for the society. And I think one more thing that we learned from what she shared was being a woman, how a person has to lead a team. Because in our country, still, we have not been able to accept a woman, a female, as a boss. So what we learned from her, what she told us was a woman has to be very strict. Obviously, women the kind of warmth a woman has, the males may not be having. But at the workplace, we cannot afford to be lenient. This is what we learned. We learned so many things from her, that despite her disabilities, what she was also telling, still she has been working for long. And then one more thing that she shared with us about the drones. She's the first person, those people who joined us late, who could not listen to our conversation during the present pandemic time. She's the first person in the country to get the sanitization done through drones. So just because, there are so many areas which she also mentioned that they are the slum areas wherein the vans, or they are not, these areas not really accessible. So through drones, the sanitization, just think of the concept that she thought of and that she tried to implement. So many things that we try to learn from her. And the most important part, the theme of our conversation that was today, the education. Education being provided to the girl child. All the problems that she discussed with us, that we all are aware, especially the labor class, and how she is trying to remove those problems so that the girls get the education. The girls are of our country who do not have the resources, they get the education. So thank you so much, every one of you, for being here. And big thanks to Ira ma'am to join us today and to share her thoughts of her journey with us all. And thanks to all the lovely audience who were with us today and listening. It's really that you all make all these talk shows a success, because it's really nice when you join us and we just meet on this platform. And thank you so much. And now very soon I would be coming up with my lectures, as I promised you all. I've already started making all the lectures in English for you, and I would be just subscribe to the channel. I hope most of you have already done, and I would be putting those lectures, and probably by next week we would be starting with the talk shows as well. So do keep watching us. Anyone who wishes to come to our show, just message me and mail your profile so that we can have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. Sat Sri Akal. Good evening.